Commentary on Genesis 6, the second cosmic rebellion. To comprehend Genesis 6, one must first recognize the grand architecture of the biblical narrative. Ancient Jewish theology did not lay the entirety of human depravity and cosmic brokenness solely at the feet of Adam and Eve in Eden. Instead, the biblical narrative details three distinct cosmic rebellions that explain the subjugation of the world. The first occurred in Eden, involving human transgression and the deception of a supernatural rebel known as the Nechesh. The second, detailed in Genesis 6 verses 1 through 4, is the transgression of the Watchers. The third occurred at the Tower of Babel, where Yahweh judicially disinherited the nations, allotting them to the administration of lesser divine beings, the sons of God, or Bene Elohim. Genesis 6 verses 1 through 4 describes the sons of God, the Bene Elohim, descending to earth and taking human wives, producing the Nephilim. While some interpreters have attempted to demythologize this passage by claiming the sons of God were merely the righteous human lineage of Seth, or sociologically mixed races, this interpretation ignores the original ancient context. In the Hebrew Bible, the phrase Bene Elohim consistently refers to divine beings within the heavenly host. This specific phrasing describes divine beings presenting themselves before God in Job, chapter 1, verse 6 and chapter 2, verse 1, and singing at the dawn of creation in Job chapter 38, verse 7. The transgression recorded in Genesis 6 is that these spiritual beings willfully cross the boundary between the heavenly and earthly realms. The Nephilim and the Apkallu Polemic. The forbidden union between the sons of God and human women produced the Nephilim. Within its ancient Near Eastern cognitive environment, Genesis 6 functions as a deliberate theological polemic against the Mesopotamian Apkallu tradition. In Mesopotamian myth, semi-divine sages brought civilization and wisdom to humanity. The biblical authors subvert this motif entirely. The divine beings commit cosmic treason by imparting illicit knowledge, such as warfare, sorcery, and forbidden arts, which aggressively accelerated human depravity, idolatry, and violence. The link to Genesis 6, verse 5. Understanding verses 1 through 4 clarifies the transition into verse 5, where God observes that the wickedness of humanity was great, and that every inclination of the thoughts of their hearts was only evil continually. The biblical narrative connects these verses because the transgression of the sons of God, the Watchers, was the primary catalyst for the extreme proliferation of human depravity. God's response to this cosmic and human corruption was to send the flood to judge the earth. New Testament Appropriations of Genesis 6. The New Testament apostles operated fully within this ancient supernatural framework. They viewed the Genesis 6 event not as an obscure myth, but as a foundational historical reality that explained the proliferation of evil and prefigured the final judgment. In 2 Peter chapter 2, verses 4 through 5, the apostle explicitly refers to the angels who sinned, tying their judgment directly to the ancient world of Noah's flood. Peter notes that God cast them into Tartarus, committing them to chains of gloomy darkness to be kept until the judgment. Tartarus is a Greek term for the realm of the dead, akin to hell. Peter draws upon Jewish traditions, such as those preserved in 1 Enoch, to explain that these fallen sons of God are currently imprisoned in darkness. Jude verse 6 corroborates Peter's account, noting that the specific sin of these angels was that they did not keep to their own domain but deserted their proper dwelling place, which resulted in their confinement in eternal bonds. Jude compares their boundary-crossing sexually illicit sin to the sins of Sodom and Gomorrah. By quoting and alluding to 1 Enoch, Jude accepts the Genesis 6 sons of God as supernatural beings who face eternal judgment. Furthermore, 1 Peter chapter 3 verses 18 through 20 mentions Christ making a proclamation to the spirits in prison who were disobedient in the days of Noah. These imprisoned spirits refer to the original offending sons of God from Genesis 6. Peter uses this imagery to declare that the resurrected Christ announced their doom and his ultimate victory over these imprisoned rebellious powers. Finally, a common theological misconception is that the imprisoned sons of God from Genesis 6 are the demons Jesus cast out in the Gospels. Because the rebellious angels of Genesis 6 are strictly bound in Tartarus, they cannot be the roaming demons of the New Testament. In Second Temple Jewish theology, demons were understood to be the disembodied spirits of the dead Nephilim, the hybrid offspring produced by the forbidden union.